From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reports 193 Palestinians have been killed and 920 injured in Israeli attacks on Gaza in the past 24 hours. The Israeli occupation carried out 13 massacres of families in Gaza. Many people are still trapped under rubble and in the streets as rescue workers are unable to reach them, the statement said. Meanwhile, condemnations are mounting worldwide of the killing of 112 Palestinians in the early hours of Thursday morning as they waited for aid. Muhammad Ahmed, a trustee of the Ummah Welfare Trust, says the exact location of the food aid distribution was communicated to Israeli forces in advance. But they started shooting as starving people lined up to take aid. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has called for investigations into the killings. She has announced 50 million euros in aid for the UN Refugee Agency, the UNRWA, as well as additional emergency aid. The White House has also called for an investigation into Thursday's deadly attack by Israel on malnourished Palestinians waiting for humanitarian aid. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has voiced support for Israeli soldiers after the shooting. In defiance of the preliminary ruling of the International Court of Justice, Israel continues its attacks on Gaza. According to the Palestinian health authorities, at least 30,228 Palestinians, mainly women and children, have been killed and 71,377 injured since October 7th. Palestinians in northern Gaza dug up graves of loved ones who they had to bury in school or hospital gardens and moved them to cemeteries on Thursday. Palestinians killed by Israel's ground operation had to be buried in empty places, roads, or the gardens of shelter centers. Some Palestinian families dug up the school gardens and took out dead bodies of their loved ones to bury them in cemeteries. Footage shows the families experiencing the same pain once again, while bidding farewell to their loved ones. Israeli forces demolished Palestinian-owned homes and facilities in the West Bank, claiming they were unlicensed on Thursday. According to eyewitnesses, Israeli forces raided the village of Duyuk near Jericho in the West Bank with military bulldozers. Israeli soldiers demolished a house, several facilities, and a wall in Duyuk, alleging they were constructed without permits. Palestinian resident Muhammad Ali said that over 30 homes in the village are under the threat of demolition due to being deemed unlicensed. Ali says Israel has intensified demolition practices using the pretext of unlicensed construction to demolish structures built by Palestinians on their land, further threatening Palestinian citizens. Israeli authorities have revealed plans for a new Jewish-only settlement in the occupied West Bank, according to Peace Now, an Israeli anti-settlement group. The settlement, to be built north of Al Ubaidiyah town, will consist of 3,600 housing units initially, expanding to 10,000 units in later phases to house ultra-Orthodox Jewish population. The project, estimated at over $700,000, defies international law and previous commitments. Peace Now warns that this decision undermines peace efforts and escalates tensions. Currently, more than 700,000 Israeli settlers reside in approximately 300 illegal settlements in the occupied territories. The settlement, to be built north of Al Ubaidiyah town, will consist of 3,600 housing units initially, expanding to 10,000 units in later phases to house ultra-Orthodox Jewish population. The project, estimated at over $700,000, defies international law and previous commitments. Peace Now warns that this decision undermines peace efforts and escalates tensions. Currently, more than 700,000 Israeli settlers reside in approximately 300 illegal settlements in the occupied territories. This announcement comes amid Israel's ongoing war in Gaza that has killed over 30,000 Palestinians. More than 400 Palestinians have been killed, and 4,500 others injured by Israeli army fire and in settler attacks in the occupied territory, according to the Ministry of Health since October. Progressive U.S. lawmakers urge a ceasefire in Gaza. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Progressive lawmakers, including Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Cori Bush, have called for a lasting ceasefire in Gaza, urging President Joe Biden to take decisive action. Tlaib emphasized the dire conditions faced by Palestinian families and demanded a permanent solution rather than a temporary ceasefire. She has warned against Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's potential escalation of violence. Bush condemned the threat of invasion in Rafah, stressing the urgency of immediate action to prevent further casualties. Omar highlighted the ongoing suffering of Palestinians under Israeli occupation and criticized the Biden administration's support for Israel without accountability for alleged war crimes. The lawmakers urged Biden to prioritize Palestinian lives and end the violence. Renowned Israeli filmmaker Yuval Abraham is facing death threats after advocating for a ceasefire in Gaza at the Berlin International Film Festival. He is acclaimed for his documentary No Other Land, which depicts a young Palestinian activist named Bassel Adra resisting the forced displacement of his people by Israel's military. Abraham's plea for peace stirred controversy, with accusations of antisemitism from German and Israeli officials, including the Berlin mayor and Israel's ambassador to Germany. Despite his Jewish heritage, Abraham's speech was labeled as anti-Semitic, prompting safety concerns. His documentary, co-directed with Palestinian Bassel Adra, also exposes Israeli demolitions of Palestinian homes in the West Bank. Abraham highlighted inequalities between Israelis and Palestinians, advocating for a political solution. He criticizes the weaponization of anti-Semitism to silence criticism of Israeli policies. Facing threats on social media and home intrusions, Abraham's safety concerns forced him to cancel his return to Israel. A lawsuit has been filed to seek the religious rights of the prisoners in a Missouri jail. The suit was filed in response to an incident in February 2021 when 9 Muslim prisoners faced violence and solitary confinement for praying. Known as the Bon Terre 7, they were pepper sprayed and shackled by guards, violating their religious rights at the Eastern Reception, Diagnostic and Correctional Center. The lawsuit, supported by the Council on American-Islamic Relations, highlights broader issues of racism and religious discrimination in prisons. Despite months of peaceful prayer, advocates of the prisoners say the sudden aggression underscores systemic suspicion towards Muslim prisoners, primarily Black, in such facilities. The lawsuit seeks protection of religious freedoms and damages. Analysts say the case has prompted reflection on the need for systemic change within the prison system, emphasizing the ongoing struggle for justice and religious tolerance. U.S. District Judge David Ezra has halted a Texas law that gave police the authority to arrest migrants suspected of illegal entry into the United States. Ezra granted a preliminary injunction against the legislation that was set to go into effect on March 5th. He cited concerns over potential civil rights violations and racial profiling. The law would allow Texas law enforcement to arrest those who are suspected of illegal entry into the U.S. and charge them with misdemeanors or felonies. Texas Governor Greg Abbott and other state officials have long argued for stricter border control measures, but critics fear a patchwork of state immigration laws will be the result. Experts say the judge's decision reflects broader disputes between states and the federal government over immigration policy. The Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah says American Muslims, along with residents of the EU and UK, can now perform Umrah pilgrimage without prior visa requirements. This initiative aims to streamline the process of making the spiritual journey. Unlike Hajj, which must be performed on specific dates once a year, Umrah is a voluntary pilgrimage to Mecca that can be performed at any time outside of the Hajj season. Under the new initiative, eligible individuals can now schedule their Umrah through the Nusk app or opt for the on-the-spot arrangements upon arrival. Saudi Arabia has also extended visa on-arrival privileges to first-degree relatives of visa holders. Umrah can now also be performed on a transit visa, provided an individual travels via Saudi Airlines. Muslim organizations in the UK are amplifying calls for fair banking practices and transparency in financial transactions after the persistent issue of Muslim bank accounts being closed. The Financial Conduct Authority reported over 343,000 account closures in 2022, prompting calls for improved banking standards. Post-Brexit amendments grant banks authority to close accounts under governmental directives. This has led to concerns about indiscriminate inclusion in databases like WorldCheck. Zahra Mohammed of the Muslim Council of Britain urged Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for a comprehensive review of banking practices to ensure fairness and transparency. High-profile cases like HSBC's closure of accounts, including Finsbury Park Mosque and Islamic Relief, underscore the severity of the issue. HSBC faced legal issues after wrongly accusing a Muslim activist of terrorist connections without evidence, leading to damages being awarded. The cooperative bank also came under scrutiny for unceremoniously shutting down accounts belonging to Friends of Al-Aqsa, the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, and 25 other pro-Palestinian groups in 2016. Abdul Sami Arjumand of the Muslim Charities Forum revealed the detrimental effects, including diversion of resources from humanitarian efforts and donor trust issues. Elon Musk has filed a lawsuit against Openai and its chief executive, Sam Altman. He claims they are breaching its foundational mission by putting the pursuit of profit ahead of the benefit of humanity. More specifically, Musk is claiming Altman had set aflame the OpenAI's founding agreement by signing an investment deal with Microsoft. Musk is a founding board member of the artificial intelligence company behind ChatGPT. The lawsuit was filed in San Francisco on Thursday. It alleges that OpenAI is now developing artificial general intelligence, or AGI. AGI is a type of AI that can perform a range of tasks at or above a human level of intelligence for profit rather than for the benefit of humankind. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.